In this video, we'll discuss how to trigger a Hightouch sync after a DBT Cloud run. Let's dive in. To begin the Shipyard here, we first want to search for our DBT Cloud blueprints, and you can see we have one called Execute Job. So if I click that, it's going to create a vessel for us over here in our fleet builder, as well as pop up an authorization guide. So if this is your first time using DBT Cloud inside of Shipyard, I'd click that and go through the steps that we have for you to grab your service token that we'll use in just a moment. So I'm going to name this vessel Execute DBT Cloud Job. I'm going to grab my service token, so I can paste it in there, grab my account ID, and also my job ID. Okay, so put those in there. So that our first vessel is good to go. So that's going to start our DBT Cloud job. So now we need a second vessel here that's going to check the run status. So it's going to start, and then it's going to check the run status so that we know the exact moment that it finishes, it can kick off that third vessel for us. So our vessel name, so check run status. We need our service token again. We need our account ID. But since we're connecting this to an execute job vessel, we don't have to put in our run ID because Shipyard will just grab that run ID from that execute job vessel. So we need to come down here to our guardrails, and we need to up the number of retries here, and our time between retries. I'm gonna go down to ASAP and just have that up to 24 there, and then keep runtime cutoff as it is. I'll explain why I made those moves once we get into running the fleet. So that's good for right there. And then last but not least, we need to search for our Hightouch blueprints. And you see we have a trigger sync there for Hightouch. So pull that up there. Trigger Hightouch sync there. We need our API key for Hightouch, and then the only other thing we need is our sync ID. So paste that in there, connect those together. So now looking at our full fleet that we built out here, so we have an execute DBT Cloud job. So it's going to start the job. If it's successful in starting the job, it's going to check the DBT Cloud run status. And so once that status is complete and successful, it's then going to trigger the Hightouch sync. If there's an error anywhere in this process, it's going to shut down and won't let it complete. Let's jump over to our fleet settings, and we can name this DBT Cloud to Hightouch. Okay, so now we can click Save and Finish here. This is going to take us over to a page telling us that the fleet has been created successfully, as you see here. And then I can click Run Your Fleet. So if I click Run Your Fleet, it's going to schedule it to start immediately. Inside of Shipyard, we call this an on-demand run. So anywhere you see that in our documentation, that's what it's referring to. Anytime you're working with a fleet inside of Shipyard, whether if you're in any of these tabs, the logs, the fleet builder, triggers, or version control, there's going to be this purple Run Now button in the top right-hand corner of your screen you see here. Anytime you click that, it's going to go ahead and start an on-demand run for you. There's also two other ways to start a fleet run inside of Shipyard using our Triggers tab here. We have a scheduling trigger that you can schedule fleet runs off of time. And then we also have an API trigger where you can kick off fleets programmatically using the API. So you can see in our fleet log here, this is giving us a live view of what's happening in our fleet run. So you can see in the Gantt chart that the execute DBT Cloud job is already green, so it's already started that job. And then you can see the check run status down there is red for this vessel. So that technically is a failure, but the reason why it's a failed right now is because it's going to DBT Cloud. It's checking to see whether that DBT Cloud job is complete. If it's not, or there's an error, it's going to come back. It's going to come back as a failure, and then you can see it's going to kick off again and try, which is why I said that thing to have a lot of retries and cut down the time on it, so it's going to keep running it. So as you know, your DBT Cloud job, kind of how long it's generally supposed to take, you can kind of like nail down those guardrails based on that. You can see our check run status is now complete. So that's going to kick off our trigger Hightouch sync. That one's already done as well. So our Hightouch job has started. I can click into that in the Gantt chart, and you can see that sync trigger for 54857 is successful and kicked off that sync run. You can see the inputs that we put in. The API key is hidden here, as well as the sync ID, and we didn't want a full resync there. So now if I go into Hightouch, you can look at here is the sync that we worked with, and you can see at 2:19 on October 4th, this thing kicked off. You can see up here, that's when it kicked off. So in this video, we discussed how you can run a DBT Cloud job, and the moment that's finished, you can kick off a Hightouch sync. If you have any questions about this solution or how you can use Shipyard in your organization, use the link in the description to set up a time to chat with our team of data experts. If you want to see more tutorials like this one, check out these related videos.